We have so many great facilities in Canada, and I get the weather is not in our favor all the time, but I think more and more kids are playing more. The game innings and the competition level, the people that are involved, I think is just what's making our guys a little bit better.
Welcome to episode 318 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. Tough news from spring training, and no, not the lack of contract extension for Vladdy Guerrero Jr., although that is bad news enough for Blue Jays fans. Vauxhall Academy alum Adam Mako has a meniscus tear in his left knee. He's looking at probable surgery, which will keep him on the sidelines for a while. We wish Adam all the best in his recovery. Full Squad started reporting earlier this week, and we will continue to keep tabs on everything spring training related when it comes to the Alberta and Saskatchewan connections over the coming weeks. The first games are actually starting today, assuming you're listening to the podcast on the day it drops. That, of course, being Thursday. If you head to our website, our Ian Wilson has penned a great article outlining the top 5 players with WCBL connections who could potentially make their way to the big leagues in 2025, a la Eric Sabrowski last year. Former Okotoks dog Jacob Melton leads that charge with the Houston Astros. College baseball season is officially underway, and here are just a few of the highlights. If we went through them all, we'd probably be here a while. So here's our top 5. Connor Croson has been a home run machine so far at the University of Montevallo. He now has 6 bombs to lead his conference and is 4th in Division II. He's hitting .370 with 9 RBI in 11 games. Weber Academy alum Tyson Kilbreath sat it again. The Calgary product threw a complete game 9-hitter for the College of the Sequoias in a 3-0 victory over Porterville, striking out 13. He's now 3-0 on the season with a 1.44 ERA. Dogs alum Nash Kroll has been named the AAC Player of the Week after an outstanding opening weekend with Reinhardt University. He hit .529 with 2 homers, 6 runs scored, and 7 RBI as the Eagles went 4-0. Another Dogs alum, Leo Griffin, is off to a flying start at Hutchinson Community College. Literally, he stole 4 bags in a game against Rose State on Saturday, tying him for 3rd in single-game history at the school. He now has 8 swipes in just 3 games. And how about the opening weekend for Swift Current's Ethan Murdoch? The 57s alum hit 3 home runs in 3 games for Marshall University. He's hitting .462 with 7 RBI. In other news, a couple of dates to circle on your calendar for this summer as the Canadian Future Showcase Tryout Tour is set to visit the Prairies. They'll be in Sylvan Lake May 27th and then Saskatoon July 8th. The annual showcase will hit the Rogers Centre in Toronto in September. Big congratulations to former Edmonton prospects and Okotoks Dogs infielder Brendan Luther as he's going pro. The 2-time WCBL playoff MVP has signed on with the Welland Jackfish. Speaking of pro signings, it's been a long time coming for Tyler Jans. The right-hander and former Edmonton Riverhawks hurler is heading to the Winnipeg Goldeyes. He's been working hard at AHP Academy to show off his stuff. And going pro in a different way is former Lethbridge Bulls catcher Noah Orr. After his college career at UBC was done, he came back to Alberta to coach with Weber Academy. He's now been named the strength and conditioning coach for the Vancouver Canadians. Another date to circle will be March 3rd as the team soon to be known as the former Edmonton Prospects are set to make an announcement. It's likely that will be the date we'll hear of the new name to coincide with their new home at MyShack Metro Ballpark in Spruce Grove. As a refresher, the finalists are the Prairie Pirates, the Cobra Chickens, the Burro Bandits, the Jacked Rabbits, and the Cactus Rats. My personal favorite, as mentioned, is the Jacked Rabbits. And a tip of the cap to the Canadian Baseball Network's Bob Elliott and Kevin Glue on their outstanding work with their most influential Canadians in baseball list. For a second straight year, they have named us to that list. Ian and I are honored to be named number 123 and believe it's truly thanks to all of you for your incredible support. Now on to this week's guests, and I know some of you have been waiting a while for the first two. We have a pair of young players who've committed to colleges stateside in the last couple of months, as well as a pro coach who was through our province recently. We'll start with Dogs Academy hurler Austin Collins. The 18-year-old is heading to Central Arizona College, the same school that Matt Tugboat Wilkinson and other dogs have plied their trades. Collins was also part of the 2024 Canadian Future Showcase, so we had more than enough to talk about shortly after the turn of the calendar year. Austin, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the latest piece of news out of your camp, your commitment to Central Arizona College. How excited were you to get that out into the public and let everybody know where you're going?
Oh, it was an amazing thing. Like, my coaches have been helping me so much and like my teammates do, and it's just like it's an amazing opportunity to have. Like, I'm very blessed to have this.
Mm-hmm. What was it about CAC that made you go, hey, I got to go there?
The weather was pretty good, but like their coaching, like they know what to do. Like, they're a good team. Like so many other teams like look forward to playing them. Like, it's just very competitive baseball, and that's what I'm looking for.
It's funny you mention the competitive nature. I mean, this is a winning program. They've got championships to back themselves up. How stoked are you to be heading to a contender and maybe etch your name in that school's history too?
Oh, that would be amazing. Like, to just be a part of like something like that. Like, I'm very lucky. So.
Have you had the chance to chat with, whether it be Tugboat, or I know there's a few guys from Dogs who've gone down to Central Arizona. Have you been able to talk to them about their experience, maybe what to expect heading down there?
Yeah. I talked to one of my teammates. He just, not really like much about all of that, but he just like told me like how the experience is going. Like, their coaches are very nice, very friendly. Everyone's like friends with each other. Like, nobody's left out. It's a good community there. But obviously, everything's not going to be given to me. So I'm going to have to work hard for everything. But
what are you planning on taking academics-wise?
I'm thinking finance. Finance or business. One of the little easier ones, but.
Fair enough. Although I've heard that can be a bit of a challenge too, so that it's all good.
Yeah.
You never be afraid to change it up. Obviously, you're coming off a year where you had some pretty big events under your belt, lots of wins with the Dogs, particularly. When you look back on 2024, do you have a favorite moment on the field, particularly when it comes to the Dogs?
There's a couple. There's definitely a couple. Yeah, Best of the West. When we won that was pretty exciting, I believe it's been a couple of years since we won that, so it's pretty big to us for that.
Also, you had the chance to go down to Toronto for the Canadian Future Showcase. You suited up for Team Black. What was that experience like, looking back on it?
Oh, it's amazing. I went the year before as well, and like, they're just so good to you over there. Like, it's such a great experience. Like, playing against like the best in Canada. Like, there's so much competition there, and like, it's just good baseball all around.
Mm-hmm. Given that it was your second year, did you find yourself being able to maybe showcase yourself a little more? Because I talked to different guys who go the first time around, they're like, I'm just trying to be a sponge. I'm trying to learn what's going on. Whereas at second and sometimes in a third year situation, they can go, okay, now I can assert myself as a veteran and assert myself as a guy to watch.
Yeah, it's a little tough because like nobody there is like bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're fighting to show off to everybody else, and you're fighting for like a position to show what you have and like what you can do on the field.
Mm-hmm. Looking back on it, even the first time or even the second time around, do you get a bit of the butterflies when you head onto that field? I mean, that's a big league ballpark, and some of the names that have been around that place, and that's Canada's team. And do you get a little have to take that moment, I guess, in a sense, to look back and go, wow, this is pretty sweet?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you get a little jacked up, and then you look around. It's like nobody's there watching. You're just playing baseball. Like, there's a couple of people there, but like, it's an amazing experience, and like, it's just amazing. Like, to play there, where so many professional players have played, it's pretty amazing.
How cool was it to watch Tim do his thing during the home run derby?
Oh, that was pretty good. We were rooting for him, and then he pulled it off, and then went back to the hotel, and then ordered some pizza, but it's a great accomplishment for him, and it's very cool.
Very cool indeed. Looking at this off season here, you're taking a gap year, so you're able to do a lot of training and that kind of stuff. What have you been working on to maybe get yourself ready for this coming spring? Obviously, you got a summer of ball to look forward to before that eventual run over to college.
Yeah, we just need to get stronger. Like, getting stronger, that's gonna help us go harder. It's gonna help us mature. Like, we're gonna have a lot of struggles, but just working through it, that's how you get through. And yeah.
Absolutely. Let's get back in your baseball past here a little bit, Austin. You're originally from South Calgary. How did you get into baseball in the first place?
T-ball. I didn't really want to do it, but my dad put me in it, and then ever since I've been playing a couple sports, but baseball just stuck. It's a part of me, and I love doing it.
What other sports did you play?
I played hockey, soccer, and then a little bit of basketball, but
Okay.
I haven't done that in a while.
So what was it about baseball that made you keep coming back?
I think it's just the overall game, the pace of it. I recently just became a pitcher 3 years ago, so it's just being able to play for almost every game and just having fun with everybody. I found hockey a little more intense before I joined the Dogs, and now that I actually want to pursue baseball, that's when I've started to actually enjoy it way more.
Mm-hmm.
And actually play for something.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the moment where it kind of flipped for you, where you went, okay, this is a fun game and all, but maybe I've got something here, maybe I can chase this dream a little bit and maybe go to college?
Yeah, I think it was going into my second year of 18U. I was 81 to 82 off the mound, and then off season starts. We do our little circuit training, and then the very first throws off the mound, it's 88, 89. So, and that's when it really came to me. I could make something of this. I could go to school for baseball.
Mm-hmm. Looking back on the young career to this point, do you have a favorite memory or moment where you had to take that step back and go, dude, I can't believe I get to do this?
Yeah, it was the PBR Future Games. That was amazing. You're on the mound, and then there's just 50 scouts just right behind you, just watching everybody, and bit of butterflies there, but you work past it, and it's just a great experience over there.
Very cool. You talk about Dogs Academy here. I mean, this is a program that you've kind of grown up in to a certain extent. What's that program meant to you as a ball player, but also as a human being?
It's so important. They do so much for us. They're so good. They let us treat our facility as it's our own. Come in there, we do our work, keep it clean, keep it tidy, and then get out of there. It's just, we're so lucky to have what we have, a big facility, a weight room, and everything in there. We're just so lucky to have it.
Not only that, you also get a chance to maybe poke around at some of the other guys, and I know this offseason's been a busy one with alumni, guys who are in the pro ranks, guys who are at high-level colleges. What's that been like, being a young guy who's going to be entering that realm, to be able to look at what they do, see what they do, and maybe learn a few things along the way?
It's pretty exciting because you can pick off them. You can grab what they know. You can ask them how it's going. What's it going to be like when you're in the same spot? And it's sounds like it's going to be very tough, but at the same time very exciting.
We've talked about a lot of the good. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the failures, because baseball is a game of failure after all. What's been that biggest challenge or hurdle that you've had to overcome over your young career?
For me, I think it's just confidence. Like, sometimes on the mound, you don't have it, and then, like, sometimes you get in your head, and then you just make it worse for yourself. You try to do too much, and then you just don't do enough at all. And it's a bit of a struggle sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Have you found something that works for you, where you're able to kind of park whatever's sitting in your mind and go, okay, let's just go and let's throw for a bit?
Yeah, I think to not care what happened on that last pitch. Every pitch is a new pitch, and you have something to make of it. So
it's a good one. A few fun ones for you here, Austin. First off, what's your favorite ballpark food when you're there as a fan?
Oh, that's a good one. The poutine's not bad, but the hot dogs are a classic, so I'm going to have to go with that.
What do you got for toppings on that hot dog typically?
Give me a bit of relish and some ketchup, and then that's probably it.
I find that the condiment question has become a polarizing one, because you can either be a ketchup or mustard fan. It doesn't seem to be both for some reason. I'm a both kind of guy, but it's just funny how different people have different likes, so I love asking about that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite baseball movie?
I grew up watching Trouble with the Curve with my mom quite a bit, so that one's got a spot for me.
Absolutely. That's a great one. A couple more for you before we let you go here, Austin. And there are a couple standard ones across the board here. For those young kids who are just starting on their baseball journeys and they're wanting to get to where you're at now, what's that one piece of advice or those words of wisdom that you learned over the years that you'd love to impart upon them?
Just when you're young, right, nothing really matters. Like, you're going to grow up, then that's when things will matter. But you just need to enjoy what you're doing, have fun. Like, have fun with your friends, have fun with your parents, coaches. Like, love the game. If you don't, then that's okay. You can go to somewhere else. But, like, if you're thinking about it, you just need to, like, love the game and keep playing.
Love the game and go all in. I love it. Final question for you. What's the game of baseball mean to you?
It is such an important part of my life. Like, I don't know, I look forward to it every day, but, you know, like, it's just, I've been playing it, like, most of my life, and, like, it's really important to me, and, like, it makes me happy. Like, I love doing it. It's like, I don't know, say someone has, like, the best job in the world. This is what it feels like to me. Like, so much fun. And, you know, like, I would hate to lose it. I would.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been so much fun getting a chance to know you and your journey a little bit here, Austin. Really appreciate the time. Congrats on all the success. Congrats on the commitment to Central Arizona College. Continued success this year and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Next up, we head east to Saskatoon to chat with another hurler in Willis Simair. The Going Yard Academy product also had a busy 2024, including repping Saskatchewan at the Baseball Canada Cup, then headed to the Prep Baseball West Coast Games. He put a cherry on top of his year by committing to Garden City Community College. Willis, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the biggest piece of news from the offseason so far. You are committed to Garden City. How excited were you to actually get the word out there and make that announcement?
Oh, man, I was pumped, just like, took, like, my mom posted the first Instagram post, then followed up with, like, all the other posts, but it was just, like, huge piece off my chest. It was just, like, a huge relief. No, it's just like, it just feels so good just getting it off and,
Tell me about the process a little bit from your perspective. I know in some cases, like, I got my pick of schools, and in other cases, like, I had 2 or 3 that were my tops, and I got to go to each school. What was your process like in landing at Garden City?
Right. No, so I started doing all the recruiting processes like grade 11. So like last year sometime, I'd go to like a bunch of showcases all over the place. Garden City was never really in mind until I think the fall of this year where there was a showcase in the city, the Saskatoon Berry Showcase. Garden City was there. I went and I threw there, and the coach came up to me. I talked to him, and then I came up, decided to go to visit there, and I really liked it. So I decided to commit there.
What was it about that school that made you turn and go, okay, this is the one for me?
Okay, the facilities were fantastic. Like every single thing, I liked it. It was just kind of like fit for me, and just also the location in Kansas. Like it's pretty warm there, so I'm gonna like it a lot better than up here in Canada. Yeah, the facilities are great. Coaches were fantastic. Loved them. They showed me everything. Went out to like this really nice restaurant. Loved it there. It was a great time.
Fantastic. From an academics perspective, because everybody talks about student athlete, what do you take in and how do you hope to maybe balance that student and athlete perspective a little bit? What's been key for you is even going through high school and also trying to prioritize ball at the same time?
Right. Yeah. So I'm planning to go into something like engineering, right? So math and a lot of physics too. Balancing, I think I've been working on it. I've like it'll be a challenge, but it's just I don't know. We'll see though.
So let's talk a little bit about the year that's been for you, and you're coming off a pretty big year with some cool events and invitations and that kind of thing. Let's start with Baseball Sask, though. That Baseball Canada Cup, being a part of that team, what was it like being a part of that squad and representing your province?
Oh man, it's an unreal feeling. Like just being out there with the whole team, just playing against guys from across our country. It's a surreal feeling, and just being out there playing, it's so much fun. You just want to win so bad, and it really brings out the best of me.
Talk about the first time you saw the jersey, the green, and that moment, because I know a lot of guys say you get the feels when you get that opportunity to rep the province. What's that been like for you in the different stops you've had?
Oh man, so like just picking it out, it just like at first it's just a jersey, but then you just take a second to think, and it's more than jersey. It's your whole province you're representing, and it's like just like a sense of pride. Like this is what you can do. It's awesome.
Pretty scrappy bunch too this year at Canada Cup. I mean, you guys came within a whisker of a podium finish. What was it like going through the motions of almost getting there and really doing the province proud?
Oh, it was that was intense. Like we beat Ontario in the game to get into the semifinals. That was a crazy win. Top moment of my life right there. It was awesome. But then just that game's so close. I don't think I have any nails left. Just bit them all off there. But yeah, just even though we didn't make it, it's just amazing to be in the top four and just come so close. Just one little thing, and we would have been there.
Mm-hmm. Then you go on West Coast games. What was that like?
Yeah, so that was fantastic. Talked to George Hilliam, head of Prep Baseball Canada. He's a great guy. He got me out there. I did one event with them before at the Best of the West in Kamloops. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I love the organization. It's just fantastic being with them. It's a little different from everything else. So being out in California with the team, it's just so much. It's really cool. You see like some really good players from the across the country. You're with that team, and like when I go out there, I really want to show who I am, and when I do, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. You talk to a lot of guys who've been a part of that, and they say like it's kind of eye-opening to be able to play with some of the best from across Western Canada, Western U.S. From your standpoint, is it a bit of an kind of that affirmation that, hey, maybe I not only do I belong here, but I can turn some heads while I'm here too?
Oh man, yeah, like absolutely. Like it was a huge eye-opener for me too. It just like, well, I performed well there too. It just like it gave me so much confidence that I was able to go out there and compete with some of the best. It was just amazing. It was awesome.
Give us a scouting report on what you bring to the table on the bump and what you've been working on this off season, because obviously you want to make sure you're hitting the ground running going into Garden City in a few months here.
Yeah, right. All right. So Throughout this like past year, instead of throwing a four-seam fastball, I basically developed it into a cutter. So my primary pitch is a cutter. And then I also throw my secondary pitch. It's like a slider curveball. I like to call it a slurve. I love throwing that for strikes a lot for a secondary just to mix it up. And then tertiary, we got the change up just to drop in there and mix with their heads. Alongside that, this offseason, I've really been working out on flattening out the fastball, getting some more, I don't know, like oomph behind it and getting it more like just straight and more run. So I'm working on a four-seam fastball, and it's been shaping up pretty well.
Do you have any expectations of yourself going into Garden City? Like, are you looking to be, a starter right out of the gate? Or are you happy with wherever you are in the rotation? What do you want to be when you get up to Garden City?
Yeah, for sure. I talked to coaches. He said that I'd probably get a spot in rotation. I'd love to start some games there, be one of their top guys. My goal is to be their top guy. I want to get out there and compete with them right off the bat. I think I have the ability to compete with them. And I just can't wait to be out there and prove myself.
Absolutely. Let's get back into your baseball past here a little bit. You're the product of Saskatoon or just outside. Tell us about how you got into the game in the first place.
Oh, man. I've been with baseball my whole life. I think I started when I was like 5 years old, just playing t-ball or everything. My mom played softball growing up. She loved baseball. She was just really active and she liked all that stuff. So she put me into baseball. I loved throwing things. It was just so much fun just throwing things. So baseball was just perfect for me. But also, yeah, mom's she pushed me so much into it, and it was perfect for who I am. It just fit me so well.
Was it all baseball all the time in your house, or was it other sports that took up your time as well?
Yeah, so I loved to compete when I was younger. I played like every sport imaginable. I was big on basketball too. I did track too, a little bit of volleyball. A little bit of everything, but I was mainly baseball and then a little bit of basketball growing up.
Looking back on it, when did it turn for you? When you went, okay, this is a cool game and fun and all, but maybe I've got a future in this thing. Do you remember that moment for you?
Yes, absolutely. Like when I was younger, I was playing the sport because I loved playing the sport. I loved like competing and all that. But then like the more I played, the more I realized that I could actually compete and do this. It was like, I believe it was like first, second year high school. I just realized that because I'm a pitcher, right? So I realized that there's more to pitching than just throwing the baseball. It's a whole mental game behind it. Baseball is such a mental game, and I don't think it's talked enough about. It's such a strong mental game that you have to be mentally tough. But yeah, just that turning point was me realizing that you have to be smart. You have to be witty enough. Not just throw the baseball. You got to actually pitch the baseball, and it brings a whole new aspect to the game, where it's just so much more fun to play around with and just have fun.
Mm-hmm. When you look back on the young career to this point, do you have any favorite memories or moments on the field where you had to take that step back and go, man, that was pretty cool. I can't believe we did this.
All right, so the Canada Cup this summer, it's the game against Ontario to put us into the semifinals. Like coming to close the game after Merrick Yeager just do a great game for us. Coming with 1 out, first guy gets a hit, second guy grounds out, throw it to first, get the second out, runner on third, 2 outs. We're up by 1 in the 7th. I get another ground ball, shaken, throwing it to first, get the play. Tydale makes a great catch, and we get the out, and we beat Ontario. And that I still replay that moment in my head every single day. It is engraved in my memory.
Very cool. On the flip side of that, you talked about the mental game a little bit, but we all know baseball is also a game of failure. So what's been maybe that biggest challenge or hurdle that you've had to overcome over your career?
So of course, injuries come and go. I've had a couple problems with my arm. Just like when you're not able to do what you want all the time. I love throwing the baseball. It's hard to take a step away from the game and just kind of you're not able to do what you want. So it's really tough to keep on going and battling through that injury. I've had problems with my shoulder, but I've had great coaches to support me. Great physiotherapist, Mitch Dahl. He's been great. It's just fantastic having those people there to help me through those moments. Yeah.
Speaking of those guys and those people around you, I want to talk about Going Yard for a second and what that program's meant to you. What has it done for you, not just as a ball player, but also as a human being?
Yeah. So yeah, I've been with Going Yard for as long as I can remember. I really maybe been with them since 2016 or 17, something like that. So they've been a huge part of my life. They're just a huge part of my life. The coaching staff, they've also been fantastic. Jordan, Brody, Marshall. Just being around them, it's really shaped me who I am. Really pushed me to be better. I just remember they're always by my side growing up saying, Willis, throw harder. Just always being there to push me, get me past who I could be. And it really changed me as a person too, because I'm able to now overcome things much easier. And they're always there to talk to you too. So it's just a great program. I've always loved them, and I always will. It's just fantastic.
One guy that comes to mind when I think about pitchers is Andrew Albers. Has he had an impact on you, and especially being a guy that has been to the show, so can kind of show you the way from, in his case, North Battleford all the way to the big leagues?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic having that huge piece of knowledge alongside the whole time. It's you feel so much better. It's amazing just talking to him. It's a new level brought to you. It's just a huge new thing to think about. He's fantastic. Gives so much knowledge, and it's unreal thinking that he was able to get there, and that I could too.
A few fun ones for you before we let you go here, Willis. First off, what's your favorite ballpark food when you're there as a fan?
I am huge on the classic poutine. You can never go wrong with the poutine. I always been a fan of them. Always.
So no weird toppings. I like the pierogi poutine weirdly, but you have anything that you like to sprinkle on top maybe?
Bacon bits. You always got to go with bacon bits.
That's a good one
the
right there.
Poutines and bacon bits. Yeah.
Fantastic. What's your favorite baseball movie?
I have to go with Major League. I love Major League so much. So
good. And that kind of segues really well into my next question, which is, let's say you get that walk-up tune, much like Wild Thing does. What is that walk-in tune that you get if you're coming in the bottom of the ninth in a big situation?
Okay. I was thinking about this last night. There's so many songs to think about, but I'm pretty big on the 90s songs right now. Anything Motley Crue, Creed, but then there's also I would think it'd be Animal I Have Become, 3 Days Grace.
Wow, you're bringing in some Canadian content to boot. I'm a big fan, so I bow down to you, good sir. Well done. A couple of ones that we ask across the board to get things wrapped up here for you. For those young kids who are just starting out on their baseball journeys and they want to know how to get to where you're at now, and they ask you for that one piece of advice or those words of wisdom, what do you want to impart upon them?
Just don't give up. Try new things. There's so many options out there. If one thing doesn't happen, work out. Other things will. I always loved playing basketball. It didn't work out. Baseball, it worked out for me, and I'm the happiest I could ever be. Just never give up. There's always so many options out there. It's a huge world.
Absolutely. And the final one, what's a game of baseball mean to you?
Baseball. Baseball is who I am. Taking baseball out of my life would not make me a completely different person. It's there to guide me through tough times. I'm always thinking about it. It's a part of me now. It would take everything out of me if baseball wasn't a thing.
Well, we're happy to see that dream continue alive again. Garden City, congrats on that commitment. Looking forward to watching your career progress. Congrats on all the success you've had at this point in your young career there, Willis. Continued success going forward. And again, thanks so much for joining us to share your baseball story.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And finally, we head south for a conversation with Mike Steed. The Ontario native has had a lengthy coaching career, including the Thunder Bay Border Cats, before he headed to the minor leagues in 2022 with the Atlanta Braves, starting as their pitching coach of the Augusta Green Jackets. He moved up to the Rome Braves the following year, then the Rome Emperors, and this year, Steed will be staying in that role with the new Columbus Clingstones. During the offseason, he's happy to give back to the game in his home country and was in Fort McMurray for a session in January. We caught up with him after he got back to Florida for spring training, where the Braves have a few familiar faces in camp, including Eric Hartman, Shea Shanneman, Titus Dimitriou, and Mason Guerra. Coach, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate you having me. Glad we could jump on together.
Let's start with the first big piece of news out of your camp anyways. Congratulations on being named pitching coach for the new Columbus Clingstones. How excited are you for that opportunity?
Yeah, it's a new new affiliate, new name for the Braves, moving from Mississippi to Columbus, which, it's got a rich minor league history in Columbus, but the Braves will be there, and new stadium. We're excited about, and just to get there and be around some guys I've coached in the past, watching them move up. So that's kind of one big reason I'm excited for that, is to see the guys keep progressing forward.
When I look at your resume, you bounce around and you get to do a lot of different cool things that are brand new in communities, and kind of that brand building exercise almost. Is that a part that enticed you about this opportunity, is, hey, we get to insert ourselves into a community and start something brand spanking new?
I think so. I think Cody Gabella, who was my manager last year, is moving up to Columbus. And last year the Rome Braves had been the Rome Braves for 23 years, and they rebranded with the new minor league agreements, and they became the Rome Emperors. So we were new last year, and then this year, obviously, going to Columbus Clingstones, which is a new brand, and just kind of excitement in the city. There's been some of our front office people and support staff who have been up there in Columbus already, and they say the buzz is great. People are excited about the team coming to town.
Fantastic stuff. You're in Florida right now. Pitchers and catchers have started reporting, as we were chatting about just off air just a couple of seconds ago. On a personal level, what's your focus as you head into these practices and eventually some games? How are you trying to prepare yourself for the coming season?
I think it's almost like the players too. We get in and we kind of just want to get back into our routine, which is fairly simple for guys that have been around a long time. It's it's day to day, and it's an everyday thing. And I think it's just building back the routines, the consistency. Trying to, I think I'm around a lot of younger players still, and even the AA guys. They're a little bit older, but I think now it's a matter of just reminding them that, hey, we want you guys to pitch until the middle of September in AA, but really we want you to pitch until November, first week of November. That means if we do that, we're winning a World Series. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just, making sure they're on plan, not getting ahead of themselves. They're all excited to be out there and going again, and being together. So I think it's just instilling that routine and moving forward.
I'm always curious, can you actually start game planning at this point of spring training? Like, can you get in there and be like, okay, on April 4th, when we start the season, this will roughly be what our rotation and what our bullpen will look like? Or you just kind of going in with a blank slate and going, you know what, whatever happens, happens, and I'll just deal with whoever we end up getting?
Yeah, I think we have an idea. And at the minor league level, I think it's a little different priority scale. We've got a lot of individual guys that obviously they're all trying to pitch for the Atlanta Braves in the big leagues. And each of them has a different focus on how to get there. So we really, instead of game planning for another team that we're playing, in essence, we're trying to reinforce pitcher strengths, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to work on. And then obviously, the competitive level, comes into play, and it's for now. So it's almost pure duration of getting them ready for April 4th, and then May 4th, and then June 4th, and then, just going along month to month right now. But we can start to do it. It's almost reverse engineering. Mm-hmm. We know April 4th opening night, so we're trying to build them up for that.
How much of a minor league season is about fine tuning, especially in that middle minor league system setup, right? Because you're not necessarily getting those raw rookies who are either 18 or 21 fresh out of high school or college. They've gotten used to the cadence of a minor league system, but maybe there might be a little bit wild, or maybe they need to get their velo up a little bit. Like, how much of it is more fine tuning at this point of the minor leagues?
Yeah, I think so. And I think definitely, moving up to the double A level and with some older, more mature pitchers, we'll say, who go through ups and downs. I think that's the relationship building, and kind of knowing each individual and how they're different. And a lot of it's, from a mental makeup side, of how they go about, getting out of that, because at the big league level, guys go through ups and downs. And I think the fortitude of a big leaguer is being able to get out of that funk quickly. You're going to have bad nights. You're going to throw two pitches, give up the lead out of the bullpen. And I think for a high A, double A guy, same deal. You're going to be in that role. And my thing is, guess what? Come Friday night in 2 days, you might be in that same situation. So I think a lot of it now has to do with just the mental side, the makeup, the personalities, the character. They're all talented. They're all very talented.
Have you noticed much of a shift over the course of your career in terms of having to handle some of those personalities? I know you've coached at different levels, but is the coaching personality side more of a challenge or easier nowadays, given what you saw maybe in, say, late '90s or early 2000s?
Yeah, I definitely think it's changed. I mean, for me, and the length of my career, I think, one thing that I've tried to do probably over the last 5, 6 years is, I talked about relationships earlier, but just being more open, and making sure the guys have the ability and trust in me, or the easiness to come and really express what they're feeling, and for me, open it up. Whereas before it was, kind of the really hard ass toughness, discipline, and all that. So I think that's what changed. And I don't want to say it's easier. I think you have to go about it a different way, and that's not to massage guys. We've got a lot of competitors, with the Atlanta Braves and their pitchers and the pitching staff on there, and I think that's why they're professionals, because maybe they've separated themselves from the norm of, if you want to call that, in society today. So yeah, I think it's very individual how you deal with guys.
How much of it is blocking out the noise? Because it's one thing to be just baseball oriented, but now you've got scouts and you've got online sources and you've got social media and all that kind of stuff built into already facing the day to day challenge or ups and downs of minor league ball.
Yeah, I do. I think that's a huge thing. You hit the nail on the head. It's blocking all out. They have so much access to information. And the great part about the Braves, and like, we're super transparent. My coordinators, my pitching coordinators tell me, yeah, you know what, we want to give these guys all the information they need. We want them all to pitch for the Atlanta Braves in the big leagues. And there's no sugarcoating things. They see their numbers, they see their walk percents, their K percent, stuff that we value. And I think when you can get them, again, I use trust, to trust you, and they see that, and they know you're not just, blowing smoke at them or whatever. I think some of the white noise and stuff from outside, or pitching gurus, that they maybe see during the winter and all that, becomes a little more silent. And they can really focus on that. And I think that's what separates the guys that continue to move up, is day to day. When the clock strikes midnight, tomorrow's the next day, and we'll attack what happened the day before, accordingly.
Mhm. You mentioned Atlanta, and over the last few years, they've really become known as being sort of a pitcher's haven. They've got that great pipeline. Guys are coming up all the time. What's it like being on the front, in the front row, that front row seat that you have in seeing these guys at, not necessarily their rawest, but certainly get moving their way up in the system, and seeing these extremely talented players make their way towards Major League Baseball?
Yeah, I think that's, for, I guess, true baseball guys or whatever, being around it and watching it. And sometimes I step back and I'm thinking, I say, wow, sometimes I'm like, man, kid is going to go a long way. And for them to move, like a Spencer Swellenbach, who, started in high A, went to double A, then pitched in the big leagues last year. He started in Rome, and I've known Spence for a couple of years now, and to see them make that jump all the way up, it's just pure credit to the work they put in and the perseverance. And yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, that's what it's all about, and you see, you just mentioned earlier, going through the ups and downs, and you see them when they're hurting, or when they're discouraged. And then I think now the best part is when you get the call and you go in the manager's office and you get to tell them they're last year going to double A, and then hopefully this year either going to triple A or the big leagues. And you see the pure joy in a young man's demeanor when that happens. So that's pretty neat. And there's a lot of sincerity for the guys I've been around. I've been fortunate to have really good groups of arms at the stops in Augusta and then 2 years in Rome. But they're really good pitchers, and they make my job pretty easy. But they're good people. They're really good young men.
One of those guys that you've had to, or that you've been able to work with over the course of the time in Atlanta is a guy we know pretty well here in Alberta, Michael Soroka. I know he's now a member of the Washington Nationals, but give us a little bit of some insight from your standpoint into what you saw out of him as he was trying to claw his way back out of two pretty major injuries.
Yeah, and obviously firsthand, Mike was above where I was in terms of when I was with the team, but I saw him in spring training, a few times, and I think for Mike, great talent, unbelievable, and it's I think he's got the mental fortitude, the makeup. We always thought sometimes a new voice, will be good for him, and I think Mike's biggest thing is staying healthy. Again, I knew him in high school, saw him pitch in high school. Obviously watched him move up to the big leagues, and obviously, when he was with the Brave in the big leagues, and then he got hurt. And I think he's getting back to how he moved early in his career. And I think that's a big part of it. I think he's getting back to who he is instead of who maybe certain people want, or who he tried to be, and he didn't have to.
Mm-hmm. I know he's moved on, but is a guy like that someone that you can kind of lean on in a double A coaching realm to look at some guys who are going through injuries or going through challenges and going, listen, it doesn't end just because you got this injury. Like, you can come back from it. It just means you have to put in a little bit of extra work.
Yeah, no doubt. We're hoping. We've got some young guys that were banged up a little bit, had some injuries, some arm injuries, and there's a couple of them that hopefully reach Columbus this year. And I think that's the matter of them just putting one foot in front of the other day to day, and knowing that injuries are going to happen, setbacks are going to happen. I think it's elementary, but getting up, going to the ballpark every day, with a purpose, having that plan, and know, you're going to get the woe is me days. And that's where I guess it's, as a pitching coach and all our pitching coaches, it's our job to be able to understand how to deal with that, personality, to get him to get the most out of his day of work, whether he's pitching that night or not pitching.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of some of those guys in Atlanta's system, as you look ahead to the season, I know it's going to be like picking favorite kids, but are there one or two guys that you look at and go, I can't wait to see how they've progressed, or I can't wait to see them on the bump in the very near future here in the Brave system?
Yeah, I think that there's, for me, there's two guys. There's, Drew Hackenberg, who started in Rome last year, right-hander from Virginia Tech, been in the system for a couple years. Who got up to AAA last year, has got a chance. I would imagine he'll throw some big league innings in spring this year. And then the other one is Lucas Braun. He's a right-hander that started in Rome last year, went to Mississippi. I want to say he's a six-rounder out of Cal Northridge, California. Two guys that have good stuff, and they're exciting competitors. So I'm kind of hoping to see them take one more step forward and really compete for some big league innings.
Very cool. One of the reasons we wanted to get you on the show is you're recently through our province doing a little bit of coaching clinics and that kind of thing up in the Fort McMurray region. And I'm just kind of curious, what's it mean to you to be able to give back in that way? Your home country, being able to come back and impart a little bit of wisdom and some fundamentals for some of the next generation of ball player.
Yeah, it's you know what, Andrew Swaggers I've known for years, who was up in Fort Mac, and he brought me up there 3 or 4 years ago, and um, just for their Fort Mac, just enjoy going back. They're good people. The kids they're really into it and fun, and it's like anything. I think with most, the Canadian baseball community is very close,
Mhm.
and I think we, kind of stick together with Big Brother south of us and always that. But I think it's super important. Anytime you can help a young Canadian ball player, just I always say if you take one thing that we talk about and it helps you move forward, it makes you a little bit better, then that's important for me. Very fortunate. I'm very humble. I've had a lot of great experiences in my career. And it's been a long career, but that's what I want, the younger players, and whether it's players in Ontario or BC or wherever, just give them a little something to, you know, maybe their career will be better than my career, which is, what my main goal is.
Mhm. When you look back on the career and you compare points in time, the beginning and now what you're seeing out of some of the Canadian talent out there, what are you noticing?
We just, we've ever since, if you go back to the late 90s, we've always had talented guys. We have. There's always been baseball players in Canada that are just as good as the Americans or the Latins and all that. Um, I think nowadays, I think they have more opportunity to play, and be seen. And I think that's the only way you get better, is to play the game. We have so many great facilities in Canada, and I get the weather is not in our favor all the time, but I think more and more kids are playing more. Whether it's going to the States more or just playing longer seasons in Canada. I think, and don't get me wrong, training's important, but I think the game innings and the competition level, the people that are involved, I think is just what's making our guys a little bit better, from back, in the late 90s.
How important has it been to see I'm a big believer in if you can see it, you can be it, but you're starting to see a little bit more of that momentum where guys are coming back and, they might be in the middle of their own minor league journeys and they happen to be going back to their home bases and just sharing their own notes and stuff with kids and being able to show them that, hey, there is a path if you want to play college at any level or maybe even go pro.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, obviously, I'm from Ontario and grew up there, and obviously was around, the Ontario Blue Jays, and still help advise with them and all that. But just the players that have gone through that program, and the Nailers, the Zach Pops, the Jordan Balazovics, you see them go back and they're around the current players, and I think that's great. Just even them sitting with a young hitter, with Josh, they get so much out of that, and they want to give back, and then even some of the coaches in the area that Trevor Nip is an Ontario guy who works for the Angels, and he's back and he's given time in the wintertime, to do certain things. So, yeah, I think that's probably the most important thing is that our players come home during the winter months, and just can. It sounds funny, but just being around them, makes a big difference.
Hmm. Looking back on the career to this point, I know there's probably a lot more highlights still to come, but do you have a favorite memory or moment on the field where you're just like, man, I can't believe I get to do this for a living?
Uh, that's I don't know. That's tough. I probably got a bunch of favorite memories, to be honest with you. I don't think I can pinpoint one, to be honest with you. I mean, coaching at the amateur level, I mean, we won a perfect game event with the Ontario Blue Jays. Even back in the late 90s, with, a group called the GTA Stars. Back then it was, not so much me, but sending a handful of guys to a junior college in Texas. And then as freshmen, they win the national championship the following year. So it's just it's little things like that that are a big deal. And then even up until recently is, last year we won the first half in Rome, in the South Atlantic League, and that was pretty cool. Watching our guys celebrate, and just a little piece of their minor league journey.
Mm. A little birdie told me a story and wanted me to ask you about the look.
The look.
Give me a reason or rationale why you might get the look from one Mike Steed.
It can be, I've managed to. I think, I'm obviously a pitching coach, but I think the manager side is, maybe not running out, a ground ball, all the way down the line, or, as a pitching guy, I'm sure a lot of my pitchers have seen a stare over a 4-pitch walk to lead off an inning, after putting a number on the board. Just little things like that. I don't know who little birdie told you that, but um, it sounds like almost my wife called you. She said there's sometimes you stare at people and I think they want to turn and run the other way. So I don't know.
Is that something that was when it originated? Was it something that you consciously thought of, especially in the pitching world, or is it just something that sort of naturally happened?
Yeah, I think as probably naturally happened, and as my career went forward, and I've learned that I played for some hard coaches that were very vocal and stuff like that, and been around some guys at the college level that were like that. And just as I went, I got thinking to myself, oh, there's no me screaming at that kid in the middle of the game, not going to help out. So I think that maybe was where that stare came into it. And I think for guys that play with me or for me and know me enough, I think they understand that stare, there's a point to it, and there'll probably be a conversation later.
It's done out of love. A couple of more for you before we let you go, Coach. A couple of standard ones that we ask here on the show. Let's say you're back in Fort Mac, you're at any community, and you've got that one piece of advice or those words of wisdom that you want to impart upon those kids to get them to the next level or to dream bigger. What are you telling them?
Be who you are, understand who you are early. It's going to sound cliche. Don't rush the process, especially I think with young arms in today's society, and just with the velo and the stuff, and it's going to happen. It will come. I tell young pitchers all the time, you're going to grow up, and just let that happen. Don't rush it. I think a lot of people right now are pushing the envelope with development, and when I say that, I mean at like 12, 13, 14 years old, doing some different things. And my biggest message is just, let it happen. Trust what you're doing. Let your, years as you're developing just happen.
Fantastic stuff. And the final one, what's a game of baseball mean to you?
A lot, I've been doing it for a long time. I think I would say a couple things on that question is a lot of my really close friends, and I have a very small circle of close friends, were through baseball and now developed into, probably the best friendships that I have. And then, there's the old saying, and again, going back to my wife, who's, supported me through everything. And we talk about baseball and who it is. And people always say it's, baseball is not who you are, it's what you do. It's a lot of who I am, and I've been very fortunate. I think why I am and where I am now is because of the game. And it's pure, it's innocent when you look at it. And I think that's what baseball is to me.
We've been really fortunate to steal a little bit of time from you before the crazy season begins. Continued success in the Atlanta Braves system there, Coach. Really appreciate the time again. Thanks so much for sharing a little bit of your insights and journeys, and hope to chat with you again soon.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thanks a lot, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thanks again to Austin Collins, Willis Simair, and Mike Steed for joining us this week, and thanks to all of you for downloading and listening. If you like this or any other episode, make sure to leave us a rating and a review on your podcast app. We're up to 32 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts and 12 on Spotify, and if you leave a review, I might just read it here on the show. A tip of the cap, as always, to our Platinum supporters, the Okotoks Dogs, Under the Lights Sports and Entertainment, and the Western Canadian Baseball League for all they do for us and for the game in our province. A special shout out to several newcomers to our roster over at Saskatchewan Dugout Stories. The Moose Jaw Miller Express, Regina Red Sox, Weyburn Beavers, and Regina Trappers have all signed on as bronze supporters, which will go a long way in helping us spread the word about SDS. For more on our amazing teammates, head to albertadugoutstories.com/supporters. Until next time, thank you for all of your support online, on social, and on air of Alberta and Saskatchewan Dugout Stories.